Zegler's remarks, made during a feature interview with a popular entertainment magazine, pulled back the curtain on the often unseen emotional toll that comes with sudden fame, especially for a young actress making her film debut in such a high-profile production. She spoke with a level of vulnerability that was both refreshing and heartbreaking, noting how, during press tours and award campaigns, she frequently felt like an outsider in rooms full of people who were supposed to be her peers and collaborators. The actress, who was only 17 when she was cast as Maria, suggested that while she had expected a sense of kinship and unity from the cast and crew, what she often encountered instead was a kind of cold professionalism that left her feeling alone and unsupported. Her words resonated deeply with many fans, particularly younger ones who saw her as a symbol of hope and representation in an industry that has historically overlooked Latinas. However, the ambiguity of Zegler's comments allowed for endless interpretation. While she never named anyone or gave specific examples, the public and media began to speculate on who among her co-stars might have failed to provide the support she craved. Ariana DeBose, being one of the most high-profile members of the cast and someone who had experienced her own meteoric rise following the film's release, became an easy target for that speculation. DeBose had won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, a groundbreaking achievement that earned her a permanent place in Hollywood history. Though the actresses appeared amicable in public settings, fans started revisiting old interviews and red carpet clips with a more critical lens, looking for any micro-expression or body language that could be reinterpreted as tension or distance. The timing of DeBose's Instagram post was, to many, the smoking gun. The meme of Kermit sipping tea has long been internet shorthand for delivering a critical opinion while maintaining a facade of detachment. Coupled with the caption about gratitude, the implication, whether intended or not, seemed pointed. The message many took from it was that DeBose believed someone, presumably Zegler, was not appreciating the opportunities they had been given. That sentiment struck a nerve, especially in an industry where many young performers from marginalized communities struggle not only to break through but to feel truly valued once they do. The backlash was swift. Online forums erupted with commentary, with some users accusing DeBose of diminishing Zegler's feelings or attempting to silence her honest account of her experience. Others defended DeBose, arguing that she had every right to express her own emotions and that the post might have had nothing to do with Zegler at all. As the story snowballed, it became clear that the public was hungry, not just for answers, but for a deeper understanding of what really happens behind the scenes of a major Hollywood production. What the unfolding drama laid bare was the fragile ecosystem that exists between co-stars, especially in projects that receive a high degree of critical and public attention. In these intense environments where professional and personal boundaries often blur, misunderstandings can easily take root and blossom into full-blown controversies, especially when fueled by the accelerant of social media. The frenzy surrounding Ariana DeBose's seemingly innocuous post quickly spiraled into a tabloid-fueled saga that eclipsed any of her current projects. The speed at which the controversy gained traction underscored the precarious nature of fame in the digital age, particularly when it intersects with fan culture and identity politics. Online sleuths wasted no time in piecing together what they perceived as a pattern of subtle antagonism, combing through red carpet footage, press interviews, and even acceptance speeches for evidence of friction. Any moment where DeBose appeared less than effusive toward Zegler was pulled into the spotlight and reframed as part of a growing rift. At the same time, others worked just as fervently to dismantle the Feud narrative, calling out the dangers of speculative reporting and the tendency to project drama where none may exist. The conversation soon ballooned beyond DeBose and Zegler, morphing into a larger discourse about how women in Hollywood, particularly women of color, are often forced into false dichotomies of rivalry and resentment for the sake of public consumption. The pressure mounted for DeBose, who has long positioned herself as a voice for inclusivity, especially for underrepresented communities within the entertainment world. From the outset of her mainstream success, she has used her growing platform to advocate for mental health awareness, LGBTQ+ representation, and diversity in casting. Her historic Oscar win was a milestone not just for her, but for countless young performers looking for a role model who reflected their own identities. That's why, for many of her supporters, the suggestion that she might be criticizing a fellow Latina actress, another rising star like Zegler, felt unsettling. It seemed to fly in the face of the sisterhood and solidarity that DeBose had so often championed, and yet there was also an awareness among her fans that vulnerability doesn't disappear with fame. Even someone as poised and polished as DeBose is susceptible to moments of frustration, insecurity, or emotional miscalculation, especially within an industry that thrives on comparison. It was against this backdrop of mounting tension that DeBose decided to speak out. Her choice to address the issue through an unfiltered Instagram Live rather than a carefully worded statement crafted by a publicist was telling. It suggested a desire for honesty over spin, vulnerability over damage control. In her live broadcast, she appeared without makeup, seated casually in what appeared to be her living room, an intentional move, perhaps, to signal authenticity. Her voice was steady but tinged with emotion as she walked viewers through her thought process. She admitted that the meme she posted had resonated with her during a difficult moment, but emphasized again and again that it had not been directed at any one person. "People don't always see the full picture," she said. "They don't know what's going on in your life, what battles you're fighting internally. That meme spoke to a personal experience I was going through, not something related to the film or anyone from it." Throughout the live session, DeBose underscored her admiration for Zegler, even referencing specific moments during the West Side Story filming where they shared meaningful conversations and experiences. She refused to participate in what she called the manufactured drama that the internet was so eager to promote. "I know how hard this industry can be, especially when you're young and just getting started," she said, in what many interpreted as a compassionate gesture toward Zegler. "I have nothing but respect for Rachel. She's an incredibly talented woman, and she's got a bright future ahead." She also took a moment to reflect on the broader issue of how public perception can spiral out of control based on a single, context-less post. We've all seen it happen before. One post gets interpreted the wrong way, and suddenly you're trending for something that was never your intention. It's exhausting and honestly, a little scary. Her comments were met with a mixed response. Many fans praised her for being forthright and taking accountability for the confusion her post had caused. They saw it as a rare example of a celebrity choosing transparency over defensiveness. Others, however, remained skeptical, arguing that the clarification felt like damage control, crafted to preserve her public image rather than acknowledge any possible misstep. Regardless of how her words were received, it was clear that DeBose was deeply aware of the stakes involved. The entertainment industry may appear glamorous on the surface, but for its players, particularly those from historically marginalized backgrounds, it can be an arena of intense scrutiny where every gesture is analyzed and every word is dissected. The Instagram Live also served as a subtle rebuke to the media outlets and online personalities who had fanned the flames of controversy, without considering the emotional impact on those involved. DeBose expressed disappointment in the rush to create a feud narrative, especially when the real story might have been one of mutual misunderstanding or projection by the public. "We live in a time when people crave drama," she said, and sometimes they'll create it if it doesn't exist, but the real story here is that we're all human. We're all navigating challenges, we're all figuring things out, and sometimes we stumble. With that, she concluded the live session not with a plea for forgiveness, but with a call for empathy. It was a reminder that beneath the red carpet gowns and accolades, celebrities are just people, imperfect, evolving, and constantly learning, in the spotlight. In the days and weeks following Ariana DeBose's Instagram Live, the discourse surrounding her and Rachel Zegler did not entirely disappear. It merely evolved. The tone shifted from overt outrage to more nuanced discussions about celebrity culture, media responsibility, and the burdens placed on young women in the public eye. Many observers commended DeBose's willingness to address the situation without retreating into silence or engaging in a war of words. Her directness and emotional candor were seen by some as a refreshing deviation from the polished, evasive statements typically released during celebrity controversies. It was a demonstration of how stars today are expected not only to perform, but also to manage public narratives in real time. Still, not everyone was satisfied. Skeptics continued to question the intent behind her original post, arguing that even if she had not meant to shade Zegler, the timing and content were bound to be interpreted in that way. In a climate where perception often outweighs intent, DeBose's explanation, while appreciated, was not enough to fully quell the debate. Meanwhile, the renewed spotlight on the West Side Story cast brought fresh scrutiny to the film's production and marketing journey. When Steven Spielberg's remake was released in 2021, it was met with critical acclaim, particularly for the performances of both DeBose and Zegler. However, the film's rollout was not without complications. Delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with controversy over casting decisions, including Ansel Elgort, who played Tony, created a complex media environment in which the film struggled to find its footing at the box office. Additionally, despite its pedigree and star power, the film failed to resonate with wider audiences in the way that had been anticipated. For both DeBose and Zegler, who were relatively new to mainstream fame at the time, the experience was undoubtedly both exhilarating and overwhelming. Being thrust into the award season spotlight came with its own set of pressures, particularly for actresses from marginalized communities who were not only representing themselves, but also carrying the expectations of broader representation. DeBose's award season triumph, culminating in her historic Oscar win, was widely celebrated, yet it also created an unspoken dynamic of hierarchy among the cast. While Zegler received accolades and praise, she did not experience the same level of institutional recognition. This disparity may have contributed, at least in the eyes of the public, to an undercurrent of competitive tension, one that was perhaps exacerbated by the industry's tendency to pit women against each other, especially when they share similar backgrounds or appeal to overlapping fan bases. DeBose's meme post, regardless of intent, became the flashpoint for these simmering dynamics to explode into public view. Rachel Zegler's decision not to respond to the controversy was interpreted in varying ways, revealing how silence itself can be a powerful, if ambiguous, communicative tool in the modern celebrity playbook. On one hand, her lack of response was seen by many as graceful restraint, a conscious effort to not dignify the drama with further commentary. This approach allowed her to maintain her focus on upcoming projects, including her role as Snow White in Disney's high-profile live-action remake and other major studio productions. By staying out of the fray, she positioned herself as above the speculation, choosing professionalism over personal conflict. On the other hand, some readers of the situation saw the silence as potentially indicative of unresolved tension, an intentional snub, or even quiet disapproval of how DeBose had handled the situation. Without an official statement, the door remained open for interpretation, which the online world eagerly stepped through. The entire episode served as a stark reminder of how fraught fame has become in the social media age, where once celebrity personas were carefully crafted behind closed doors by managers and publicists. Today's stars are expected to be accessible, authentic, and perpetually engaged. Platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok have become both a blessing and a curse, providing direct lines to fans and unprecedented control over personal branding, but also exposing public figures to a level of scrutiny that is relentless and often merciless. For young actresses like DeBose and Zegler, who are navigating the already difficult transition from rising talent to household name, the stakes are even higher. Every post, every like, every comment is potentially newsworthy. In such an environment, even a moment of emotional vulnerability, like sharing a meme that resonated in a private context, can spiral into an international headline. What's more, the controversy highlighted broader conversations around how women, particularly women of color, are represented and perceived in media narratives. The rush to construct a feud between two Latina actresses fed into long-standing tropes of female rivalry, reinforcing the notion that there is only room for one woman to succeed at a time. This framing is not only reductive, but deeply harmful, as it distracts from the systemic issues that make Hollywood such a difficult place to thrive in the first place. Rather than celebrating both women for their distinct talents and contributions, the public conversation was derailed by insinuations of jealousy and discord, narratives that are rarely imposed on their male counterparts in similar circumstances. In the end, while the specific controversy may have faded from the headlines, its implications linger. It was a case study in how modern celebrity culture functions, how Stories are shaped not just by what is said, but by what is unsaid, and how the pressures of constant visibility can distort even the most benign interactions. For Ariana DeBose and Rachel Zegler, the incident likely served as a difficult but instructive lesson in the unpredictable nature of fame. And for their audiences, it was a sobering reminder of how quickly admiration can turn into accusation in a world that never stops watching. In examining the broader implications of the incident between Ariana DeBose and Rachel Zegler, it becomes clear that the media frenzy surrounding their perceived feud reflected deep-rooted patterns in how women, particularly women of color, are portrayed in the entertainment industry. The spectacle wasn't just about a single social media post. It was about the public's persistent appetite for conflict, especially when it can be wrapped in a narrative of female rivalry. Cultural critics and scholars were quick to note that this incident was emblematic of a recurring trope, the idea that two successful women occupying similar spaces cannot coexist peacefully. This narrative, while often baseless, continues to be perpetuated in headlines, fan theories, and comment sections. When women of color like DeBose and Zegler reach prominent positions in Hollywood, the pressure intensifies, rather than celebrating. Their achievements collectively, the industry, and by extension the public, frequently positions them in contrast to each other, framing their coexistence as competition. What made this case especially resonant was how quickly the discourse escalated. A single, ambiguous Instagram story was enough to spark widespread conjecture, suggesting that the public was primed to believe in the existence of a rift. That readiness speaks to deeper societal issues. There's an ongoing failure to give women the same complexity and dimensionality that male actors often receive. When tensions or disagreements emerge between male stars, they are more often attributed to creative differences, artistic passion, or even friendly competition. Rarely are they dissected through the lens of personal vendetta or jealousy, but when women are involved, especially in a setting as visible as Hollywood, any sign of discord is seized upon as proof of cattiness or professional insecurity. This disparity in treatment reflects a gendered bias that remains pervasive despite the progress made in gender equality and representation. The aftermath of the situation also highlighted how both DeBose and Zegler chose to handle the media scrutiny in their own ways. DeBose's decision to address the speculation head-on through a live statement showed a measured attempt to assert control over her own narrative. Rather than issuing a prepared press release, she opted for a more personal approach, allowing fans to hear her tone, see her expressions, and engage with her humanity. That vulnerability made a difference to many, demonstrating the strength it takes to speak candidly in the face of widespread misunderstanding. Zegler, meanwhile, chose silence, a response that was equally powerful in its own right. Whether motivated by a desire to maintain professionalism, protect her mental well-being, or simply stay out of a storyline she hadn't authored, her refusal to add fuel to the fire suggested a sense of restraint and maturity. Together, their respective reactions painted a picture not of animosity, but of two young professionals managing a delicate and very public moment in ways that felt authentic to them. As the weeks passed and attention shifted to new stories, both actresses returned to doing what they do best, performing. DeBose continued her ascent in both film and television, earning accolades not only for her talent but for her dedication to causes like LGBTQ+ rights, racial equity, and arts education. Zegler remained a central figure in Hollywood's next generation of leading ladies, earning roles in major franchises and becoming a voice for Gen Z creatives navigating fame in an increasingly digital world. The incident between them, while temporarily disruptive, did not define them. Instead, it became a footnote in careers marked by resilience, passion, and exceptional talent. Still, the cultural takeaway from the episode lingers. It serves as a potent reminder of the fragility of online discourse and the disproportionate burden placed on women, particularly women from underrepresented backgrounds, to be flawless in every aspect of their public lives. They are expected to inspire but not outshine, to connect without oversharing, to be real but never controversial. It's a nearly impossible tightrope to walk, and the DeBose-Zegler situation revealed just how quickly one can slip, often without having done anything at all. The public's reaction to such missteps is frequently outsized, driven more by narrative hunger than by any real understanding of the individuals involved. In a space where perception often outweighs reality, it is the perception that sticks, regardless of subsequent clarifications or good intentions. As audiences and media consumers, the incident challenges us to rethink our engagement with celebrity culture. It invites a more critical approach to the stories we choose to amplify and the assumptions we make based on fragments of online behavior. More importantly, it urges a shift toward empathy, recognizing that public figures, despite their visibility, are still human beings dealing with complex emotions, relationships, and professional challenges behind the scenes. For Ariana DeBose and Rachel Zegler, this was not merely a lesson in media management, but a reflection of the broader cultural forces that shape their journeys. In acknowledging the weight of those forces, perhaps the public, too, can move toward a more thoughtful and less reactive mode of engagement with the people they admire from afar. The final takeaway from this episode underscores a profound cultural moment, one that extends beyond Ariana DeBose and Rachel Zegler and touches on how society engages with fame, conflict, and the narrative machinery of the internet. In a digital age fueled by immediacy and emotional reactions, it has become increasingly easy to conflate speculation with fact, to turn fleeting impressions into cemented public opinion. A single image, a vague caption, or an out-of-context comment can ignite a wildfire of assumptions, drawing in millions of observers who feel entitled to judge, dissect, and assign motive. The speed and scale of this dynamic leave little room for nuance or personal growth, and even less for grace. When Ariana DeBose posted what she later described as a general reflection on her own industry experiences, the collective digital audience was quick to fill in the blanks, drawing connections where there may have been none, projecting intentions that likely never existed, and casting her and Zegler in roles that suited the more entertaining narrative of a celebrity feud. This incident sheds light on how readily the public consumes stories involving conflict, especially when they involve women in the spotlight. It also reflects the parasocial nature of celebrity culture, where fans form perceived relationships with stars and feel personally invested in their lives, triumphs, and supposed missteps. In doing so, these audiences often lose sight of the humanity behind the headlines. Both DeBose and Zegler are young artists carving their paths in an unforgiving industry, navigating its expectations while simultaneously trying to remain true to themselves. The rush to pit them against one another reveals more about the audience than about the women involved. It is a reminder that kindness and curiosity should take precedence over cynicism and judgment. In the end, Ariana DeBose's decision to speak out, deliberately, respectfully, and without animosity, provided a blueprint for how celebrities can reclaim their voice amidst chaos. Her candor was not just a defense against misinterpretation, but a call for more thoughtful engagement from the public. It underscored that while narratives can be written overnight, undoing them takes courage, clarity, and time. And perhaps that is the truest lesson here, that in a world saturated with noise, a moment of sincerity still has the power to cut through and offer something real.